For MSO Sports, I'm Tim Kearns, and this is Panther Review with Beverly football head coach Andrew Morency as we look back upon the 2018 season. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it, buddy.
You know, it's beginning of 2019, and before we know it, fall 2019 will be around. August will be here. You guys will be back on the field.
Oh, it's true. I mean, we're already started the process. A lot of schools, the winter lifting, they take a little break. They start the off-season workouts, and we're no different. We have a plan in place, and we usually start it around January, so we're already starting up.
All right, so let's take a trip back through the 2018 season. Solid team coming back, some really good experienced returners, and you finished with a 6-5 record on the season. You got a playoff berth, which had to be exciting for the team and for the fans of the program. But boy, the injury bug bit you guys and bit you in the wrong places.
No, we definitely lost some key guys at key moments. I think like any team, you have adversity throughout the year. It's part of the challenge and the journey. And, for us, it was no different. We lost a few guys going into the playoffs. Clayton McAlpine was one that, was a big loss after a big win versus Peabody. Inevitably, we had a couple guys early on, the Bobby Adams and so forth. But, like I said, a lot of teams face similar adversity, and you have to deal with it the best you can. Kids have to step up. So with all those things considered, we were able to still go out, beat Danvers and, beat Salem, get that playoff win. So we were pleased, for the body of work, all things considered, at the end of the season to come out with a 6-5.
You mentioned the beating of Salem, and that's the traditional Thanksgiving Day game. And no matter how seasons have gone for either team, that win on Thanksgiving just really means so much more. Not only in terms of setting the tone for the next season, but just capping off.
Sure.
That current season.
Absolutely. I mean, that Beverly-Salem game is as big as anybody's. You have the Gloucester Danvers, and there are, all sorts of New England football rivalries, as we know. And, inevitably winning that game, it takes it's such a big deal for people around here, not only for the immediate program in that year, and like you said, finishing strong and leading into next year. All those things, initially are huge. But, the community, the football tradition, some of the older supporters, these are all things that getting a Thanksgiving win that can help really get the support from the community you need going to the next year. So there's just a ripple effect when you can get that Thanksgiving win, and it's great.
You mentioned the older supporters, and Beverly has some of the staunchest veteran supporters.
Right.
In the area. I know Gloucester has a bunch of guys. They sit up right underneath the broadcast booth, the press box, and they're there every single game. And there is a group of Beverly statesmen, let's put it that way, who attend every single game. They're sitting in the same spot. They know all of the kids. They know their names. They know their families. And they are really, to a guy like me, they're the heart and soul of your fan base.
I agree. These are the supporters that make Beverly special, make Gloucester special, some of our football programs. So we have all sorts of generations that are connected to Beverly High School football. And, we want to, obviously, you want to win and compete for a lot of different reasons. And certainly, playing for your community is one of them. So it definitely means something.
Yeah, I had that experience when I played baseball for Post 6 in Lynn in the early 70s. There were a group of veterans from Post 6 who followed us home and away. And we, even in away games, we had more fans in the stands or along the sidelines than the team that we were playing. And we were playing home at either Fraser Field or Barry Park. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And again, all these veterans, you didn't know who they were. You knew they were veterans. You knew they were from the Post. But they knew you. They knew your name. They cheered you on by name. And that just means so much to a youngster, to a ball player, whether it's football or baseball or basketball.
It adds to it. There's no doubt. I think that the players like, a big stage. They like the crowds. And Beverly Salem brings that, And again, like we just said, like the generations, people who follow the loyalty. Things, these are things that make football special.
Okay, let's look at the 2018 season in particular. Highlight.
Well, I think the Danvers game, inevitably it was an all-time classic. Going into that game, that context, them being undefeated, and us being at 2-3, we needed the win. It would have been a game changer for us if we had gotten it. There was all sorts of ramifications. Danvers, I know, went in without the QB, but defensively they were pretty much almost 100%. So you still had a Danvers undefeated team that had not had many hiccups leading into us, and to kind of go into that game, and I know that they came back, which is my hats off to them. It made the game great and memorable. But for about 3.5 quarters, I was very proud of our defense. I mean, our defense was stellar. We bottled up McCarthy. I think he ended up with, like 40 yards. The game before he had a couple hundred versus Lynn Classical. So inevitably, I was very proud of that game. That game was one I will never forget. I mean, it was exciting coming back. So, when you think of it, when you go down in high school and there's 2 minutes, you have 80 yards to drive. Usually you figure that's it. And, to be able to drive 80 yards in a minute and something seconds, score almost on the last play against that very defense we spoke about, says a lot about this team this year, that the potential at the very least that we had. So Danvers is great, and again, getting that first playoff win for Winchester, having Merge Malama break the school record for rushing that night. That was our first game without Clayton McAlpine, and to go out, Winchester was favored. They had the home field and they were higher seed. That was wonderful. And of course, Salem I thought was great. So, we had a lot of highlights this year. And again, we are looking forward to next year. We get some guys back. We actually were able to finish, because of that Danvers win, we were able to finish second place in the league behind Marblehead with a 3-1 record, and we were excited about that.
For every highlight, there's a not-so-highlight.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Well, I think coming out of the gate, when we had, we lost that close one to Lynn English. That was a tough one. I mean, Lynn English made some huge plays. And they had to, the silver lining was that they played their best to beat us a little bit, but they did, and that was a big disappointment coming out of the gates and losing a tough one to them. And then the Gloucester game was a tough one. I mean, to have them fourth down, fourth quarter, one play away, 3 minutes left, and have them complete that touchdown pass to kind of, take the lead after we had scored that fourth quarter kickoff return. Again, a great game, but, that was one we thought, we could have had, and we were playing that game without Bobby Adams. So, you had these games where the story behind the story showed how close we were to inevitably not just being 65, but maybe higher. And, that's football. That's just the way it goes. So that was a disappointment for sure.
Okay. Let's look at your graduating seniors and what they've meant for the program.
They're just great. Our captains, first of all, Clayton McAlpine, Bobby Adams, and Patrick Parsons were just exemplary leaders. Kids who just basically did all the little things, both on the field and off. So psyched to have them as captains. Ryan Barra is somebody who, had a tremendous career for us from sophomore to senior year. We're going to miss him. He was somebody who really led by example, great QB. Foster Smallman, Andrew Avila. I could really go on and on. You had Caden Hale, Billy Shaw. You had a lot of seniors who did a lot of great things for 3 years for us. All those guys had a role this year, were a part of the success. And with all the optimism we may have here, we have some holes to fill like everybody else. So you're going to have to find people to fill those holes. But the seniors were great. They were great.
Okay, who are the leaders that are be coming up next year? You're going to have high expectations for?
Sure. I look at our captains, Braden Pride, who's a 3-year starter, and at linebacker and guard. You have Duncan Moreland, who will be one of the better athletes in the North Shore, one of the better players, highly touted coming in at receiver and defensive back. He was a league all-star. And Chris Curran. Chris Curran is a lineman who got hurt this year, but great leader. You have 3 outstanding captains. We have a strong sophomore class. We have a strong sophomore class with a lot of linemen that played this year, a lot of skilled guys who got a taste of it. We have Merge Malumba coming back, a running back, a junior who going into his senior year, we look for big things from him to get his shot. We have a lot of potential and a lot of players who may do great things, but we just got to make sure we put them in the right place to succeed.
Okay. Coach, listen, I want to thank you for all the help you've been to MSO during the course of the last several seasons. We really appreciate it, bringing Beverly High School football to the fans beyond just watching you guys play, but giving you guys the opportunity, both yourself and the players, to step up and to represent themselves and the school that they love so much.
No, Tim, I really appreciate that. I mean, MSO and all the things that you guys do, this is, again, a part of the fabric of North Shore football. It's exciting for the kids to know that you guys guys are at the games, that you get that media support where you can go and reflect and enjoy some of the things that occurred that afternoon or that evening. MSO does all those things. So we really appreciate it. It's a part of it, and we look forward to next year, the same kind of context, so we can go out and do some exciting things.
Great, thanks, Coach. Next time we meet, we'll be doing Panther preview.
All right, Tim, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Coach.